Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming this morning. We are the pillars where we ask the tough questions the community wants to know, but maybe too afraid to ask sometimes. All our questions are from the community, and I ask with the intent to ensure we can protect investors as well as helping protocols grow and succeed. Today, we have collective financing. All the links to their white paper, to the website, you can see in the stage channels, which are already pinked. This is going to be a very interesting Q&A. I've looked through the white paper. I had to read it a couple of times to really wrap my head around it. So I'm very excited what Matt Hatter has got in place for you for questions. But yeah, we have Chrome in today, Gold Dog, and Crypsom. MP, the founder, is missing. Unfortunately today, he's probably in bed now. But yeah, also to the audience, thanks for coming. I already see a lot of people. And just so you know, as you can see from the title as well, we have a $100 BUSD giveaway at some point. Matt Hatter is going to announce it. And also, if we reach how many listeners, Matt Hatter? 100?
100. Those that juicy 100. If we hit that, we're going to give away an extra $50.
Yeah, which we're going to pay out of our own pocket. And yeah, that's right. I'm going to leave you guys alone now. Have fun. Enjoy this evening or morning or midday. And yeah, thanks a lot. Bye.
Thanks,
gentlemen. How are you? Thank you, David. Yes. How are you guys? Good to have you.
Hey, thanks.
Man. Yeah, fantastic. Super stoked to be here.
Yeah,
thank you very much. I mean, how's life treating you? Good, I hope.
It's busy. It's good, but it's very, very busy, which is good. If I'm stagnant,
busy is good, right?
Good, yeah.
Busy is good indeed. As David said, part of the process here is to ask some of those tough questions that the community might want to ask, but could be perhaps a bit too shy or embarrassed to ask. It's all in the spirit of giving you guys the opportunity to really showcase what you're doing and kind of smash it out the park with your answers. So please don't take any of it personally if you find it's too rough. I try to go as easy as I can, but I like to try and also poke holes where I can just to get that juicy information from you guys. So
thank you.
I think the best thing to do is, why don't we start by having you guys kind of introduce yourselves and give us a very brief overview of how you found yourselves in this space and how you guys found yourselves together creating a protocol.
I love that question. Are you guys here to kick it off, or do you want me to kick it off?
Go right ahead, Chrome, and then we'll hop in after you, bud.
Awesome. Sounds good. Yeah, so we've all been friends for quite some time now. I think me, Doc, and Crip have known each other for probably a year or so, maybe a little bit less, a little bit more. It's hard to say. DeFi time moves crazy, right?
Right.
But a little bit about me. My name's Chrome. I'm also known as Monkey. My real life name is Jacob, and I've been in the space for 2 to 3 years now. And I've been investing in projects, and I'm a participant in projects, and I've kind of seen what works, what doesn't work, what a team needs, and what a community needs to really strive and be successful. So I kind of handle a lot of the back end operational stuff like social media, Discord, organizational things like getting these AMAs set up and all that fun stuff. So you'll see me around in all the communities, in our Discord server, kind of everywhere. Say hi if you see me around.
Hi everybody. So I go by Doc. My real name is Brian. Thanks everybody for coming and listening in. So I'm one of the 4 founders. I'm really involved in protocol oversight and direction. I would say investor relations and oversight as well. A little bit of background about myself. So I am a real world practicing physician. Have been so for about 15 years. About 10 years ago, I followed my entrepreneurial side, and I've since started multiple businesses, 4 of them to be exact. One of them is multinational, and then during that time, I've also been a really big gold bug and precious metals investor, and I've been a big angel investor and seed round investor in the DeFi space. So as Chrome said, we've all of us as founders have known each other for a long, long time now. This project didn't just come about over the last few days. It was put together, God, over the last 6 months or so. And I think I can speak for our whole team when I say really transparency, honesty, integrity. It is of the utmost important to us. And it's not just rhetoric. We've really put ourselves and our money in our mouth right there too. So glad to be here and look forward to talking to you guys about collective finance.
Great stuff.
Doc,
Thank
just
you.
a little heads up. You have like a weird static going on whenever you're talking. I'm not sure what it is, but there's like a weird little static.
All right, thanks.
That's
I'll try to change mics
just
here.
the
Sorry.
husky,
worries.
soulful sound of his voice, right?
Yeah, exactly.
He's got that sexy husk going on. Krebsom, hit me with your background if you don't mind.
Crip, you're muted.
Okay, there we go. Hey, everybody. I'm Cripzom. Also, my real name is Zach. I've been around the space for a few years now. I would say me and Doc and Chrome met it feels like a long time ago. It feels like several years ago. But we started a project together, and this has kind of been on the horizon for over, I would say, about a year now. We've been thinking about doing something in this fashion. Just didn't know exactly how to put it together. So that's kind of where we came together as trusted, friends and entrepreneurs outside of the DeFi space. We kind of collabed together and came up with something really unique, in my opinion. I have, as far as myself goes, I have a few different businesses in real life. Some of them focus in the automotive industry, and or one of them in particular, I should say, focuses on some things in the automotive industry, like fleet maintenance and diesel performance, and what else can I say? Custom fabrication, custom builds. We kind of do all kinds of different stuff across the map. And I also am focused on agriculture, renewable energy, and regenerative soil practice. So I do some consulting on that and working with a few different companies right now in real life that, we're trying to get some blockchain integration in them as well.
Great stuff. Thank you. I actually have a couple of questions based on your background slightly further down the line. So I'm keen to hear what you have to say when I ask them. One of the things I want to ask first and foremost, just so I can kind of start it off with a question you might not always get so that it doesn't feel repetitive for you guys. What is it about each other that you guys like? Which, is there a fundamental one thing or a few things that brought you guys together to think, yes, we can really work together and create a protocol? And I ask because I've heard you guys in your other AMAs very much discuss the power of your network and how strong you feel that network is. And you guys are obviously your core network to each other. So why do you guys think your core network works so well and therefore can translate into a successful protocol?
Yeah, I would say, if you don't mind, I'm going to take this one for a minute, you guys. I like to say your network is your net worth, essentially. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And you gain that network by doing, good things and integrally based things over time. And that if that network's pure and a really good organic network, it'll develop over time with what you can provide to the world. So I feel like with the different aspects that we bring to DeFi, from business standpoint to tech standpoint to network with developers, different project owners, real life business owners that have then bridged to Web3, the connections within off-chain and on-chain. There's just a multiple different key components that kind of came into how we decided to work together. And I would say it's built off of trust, number one, and we're all very generous within each other. So nobody's greedy. So we really try to focus on integrity, and that's very, very, very important to us. And I do not just wave that flag around because without like really important, how can I say this? I say it's very, very important to us. So it's the stress that I make all the time is that a lot of people have waved that flag around and then done the opposite. So it's kind of hard to be the one to wave the flag around. And, we have some people that say maybe some opposing things, but I can tell you right now that this team is focused heavily on transparency, and that's what we're going to provide.
Yeah, if I can add real quickly,
Yeah.
Kripsam said, trust. I had two words written down here next to me, trust and experience. And I think we've gained the trust of one another through the experiences that we've had, and our experiences, I think, in the real world from a business and an operations standpoint, have really been key. So the trust and the experience within our team is we're really proud of that.
Great, and I like the word trust. I also picked up on the fact that you said that you guys are not greedy, and I assume that means with ideas and time rather than kind of money, right? And I think a non-greedy working relationship is great when you guys are trying to float ideas together, and it means that egos can be shelved to a point. And if something gets built out of a lack of ego, that means there's a lot of strength behind it, because you're not afraid to put things aside if they don't work, and you're not afraid to pick up someone's idea if it's better than yours.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's a great way to put it, actually. I mean, we're very synergistic and we work together very well.
Great. You guys have a particularly, on the surface of it, complex protocol, but the more that you scratch it at it, the easier it becomes to understand, I've found. And I've been doing a lot of research. I've been listening to some AMAs, reading your white paper. I'll go away, do something else, come back, reread it, and I'll pick up on things that I hadn't before. So, I mean, I'm hoping that what we can do is really get across to the people that it seems complex, but it isn't. And the way you guys have designed it is absolutely for sustainability. In that's going to be some questions that I'm going to bounce off you guys to find out why you feel it's sustainable. But to begin with, can someone or all of you just talk us through kind of how it works? And what I'd like you to do is also take time on explaining the over collateralization, because it's one of the key words that you guys have used in your white paper over and over again. So I'm highlighting it because you guys are trying to highlight that that's an important key feature of what you're doing. So please do take your time around that particular point.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I'll kind of give the little overview of what collective finance is and what we're doing. So we're basically a project, a DeFi project on Binance that's aiming to provide a secure and safe way to gain exposure to and earn yield on hard assets such as gold, silver, and diamonds. We're going to be over collateralizing these assets, backing them with an asset that they represent, meaning like apples to apples. I'll let Doc jump in to explain that pretty soon. And yeah, one of the main issues with TradFi is, there's no easy way to gain exposure to or earn yield on any commodities like gold, silver, or diamonds. You can hold them, buy them, keep them in your safe, but they're just sitting there. There's also a lot of high fees, limitations like only being tradable on weekdays, 9 to 5. So there's really not a lot of accessibility. And that's what we're here to solve, is by launching and issuing what we're going to call C tokens, which you can think of as like collective or commodity tokens. And they're going to be over collateralized assets that represent gold, silver, and diamonds, starting with gold. I'll let one of the other guys jump in now because I don't want to take the whole floor. So you guys go ahead.
Yeah, I think one of the things really to understand about our protocol from a 5,000-foot overview or a macro level is we're just like Matt Hatter said, we've tried to build this for growth and sustainability and yield more than anything else. And we've built it around a foundation of not only our own ecosystem token in CLF, but then also Bitcoin, these over collateralized commodities, and then ultimately some stables, although maybe not so stable anymore. So really what what community members are going, our participants are going to gain exposure to is across this different range of volatility in this asset class, right? So by participating in the collective finance ecosystem, you're almost diversifying your exposure, right? And as we'll talk about, I think a little bit further down the road, by the way we have set up our revenue streams in the different parts of collective finance, there's actually an underlying net asset value to our protocol, right? And by design, not only will that provide return to participants, but it will also intrinsically grow. And I think that concept is really, really important because it provides a base or a floor for collective finance. So that bottom falling out, like we see so often in the DeFi space, is a little bit or a lot more difficult to do with our protocol. So I guess the over collateralization, let me address that. So it's really important. Our first commodity token is going to be gold, CGLD. And our gold tokens are going to be backed or collateralized by real gold. And in the future, when we have silver and diamonds, they'll be collateralized by those actual assets. So when we say apples to apples, that's what we mean. The gold won't be backed by dollars or Bitcoin or Ethereum or something else. It'll be backed by actual gold. In the case of collective finance, we are using something called Patch G, which if you're familiar with it, fantastic. If you're not, I would encourage you to go check it out. But one Patch G represents 1 troy ounce of gold, and that ounce of gold is in an actual vault in London. So what we have done is we've taken the Pax G, and it's going to be held in a vault on Ethereum, and then from that we're going to be minting or creating our CGLD token. Now there will only ever be in circulation as many CGLD that would be -5 to 10% basically of the total supply of Pax G. So we will be collateralized over collateralized by +5 to 10 or 105 to 110%. So for example, if we are holding 10 Pax G, let's say on Ethereum, there would be 9 Pax G worth of CGLD available on BSC and tradable. So that way things are always safe from a bank run. And really it's the ultimate layer of safety. So the idea behind over collateralization is just that. Oh, perfect, crypto. I'm just going to bring up the infographic here too. So, but hopefully conceptually that makes sense when we're talking about over collateralize what we're doing. So we're going to have gold backing gold, and there will be more gold in our collateralization vault than there will be in circulating supply on our end.
Right. I know a couple of you have been angel investors, so your experience in getting into a project in the early days is going to be vast. I'm guessing you also drew from that experience when you decided you were going to over collateralize. Was it something that you immediately understood it was needed for you guys in order to make sure that you were giving the investors that security blanket, but also yourselves? Or is it something that came to mind as you guys were building out ideas for what you wanted to do?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to say it was something that we knew needed to happen. Over collateralization is important. A lot of people talk about being one-to-one collateralized, and then you see, stable coins that were supposed to be stable that had a bank run or had a scenario where they then lost their peg. So we think it's really important to have that fudge room in the 5 to 10% over collateralization.
And we saw, honestly, we saw what happened in DeFi. We've been participants. We've been rugged by everybody else, and we felt the shift. I don't know how else to say it, but we've always believed in precious metals and these type of things too. And we knew that if you can over collateralize and do so in the right way, you can provide the ultimate layer of safety. And if you can find a way to earn consistent yield on that too, that even if it wasn't adopted at first, what they say in the movie, if you build it, they will come, right? Because it's just hard to find out there.
I think it's a very important thing that you guys are obviously stressing in the white paper and stressing in the Q&As that you do. So I'm going to stress it once more here that over collateralization is very important. One-to-one doesn't always work. And if something goes wrong, if it does start to go south, having that buffer is vital. And it should give people that are thinking about or already have invested with you guys, it should give them that extra security blanket that they might need to say, right, these guys are really thinking about not just what they want to do in the future, but also worrying about what might happen if things go wrong and trying to mitigate against that as best you can.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Being prepared. And we actually also have something in the works, which is pretty neat. We are looking to, so as we said, we're going to be holding Pax G. It'll be in a vault on the Ethereum chain. But wouldn't it be something if you were able to actually, even if it was a small amount, but earn yield on your collateral, right? And whether that's through a borrowing and lending platform or whatever it may be. So we have some, and what that would do would be perpetually, it would start to slowly increase your over collateralization amount, right? Which then
Right.
gives you a whole bunch of options, which could be put to a governance vote within our ecosystem too. So yeah, I don't think it's going to stop there. We have some pretty good ideas down the road that we're working towards as well.
Great. So let's kind of deep dive into how this all works. Chrome gave us an overview. Who wants to kind of start at the top really and kind of explain what tokens you have, what represents or what is represented by an NFT and what those NFTs do, and also how you guys have already raised money by bringing in angel investors first, and then I'm just going to kind of dive in with questions as and when I see fit.
Perfect. That sounds good. Chrome, do you want to sort of do the walk through the ecosystem, and then Crip and I can sort of come in with regard to the seed round and everything at the end?
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
So I'll start it off here. Obviously, we were just talking about our C tokens, which are one of the main aspects of collective finance. Those are the over collateralized commodity tokens, and they're always going to be backed, and you can always view that collateral at all times. But we also have within the ecosystem our native token, which is CLF. The CLF token is the kind of like the backbone of the ecosystem. It's what we sometimes refer to as the oil in the engine. It allows you to unlock yield in multiple various tokens, some degen, some not. So with the CLF token, thanks, Criff, you have the graphic there so you can see the supply and everything and the breakdown. But yeah, the CLF token is the native reward / governance style token. Users will be earning and also be able to use to earn more yield. So one of the main aspects within our ecosystem is XCLF, and that is going to be a liquid locked staking. And so creating XCLF will allow you to earn a lot of rewards in real yield, which can be up to C Gold, Bitcoins, stable coins, and more CLF tokens. So how you get XCLF is you have your CLF, you want to create liquidity with it, which will be on the Vertex DEX. And that'll be really easy for people to go in with one-sided. If you have just Bitcoin or if you have just CLF tokens, you can easily create liquidity. You then want to stake that liquidity on the DEX, and you'll get what's called a receipt token back. You can then lock stake that receipt token within collective finance and choose between one of 4 different tiers. The 4 different tiers are 30-day, 60-day, 90-day, and 180-day. So those are all 4 different pools you can think of that you could take your receipt tokens and lock them in to start earning more robust rewards. So basically, the
Great.
rewards you'll be receiving are could be various, but it'll be stable coins, Bitcoin, C tokens that we launch like C Gold, C Silver, C Diamond as those come out, and then also CLF tokens. So it's really important to us that we are providing participants with real yield and not just more inflationary style rewards. And that's what we kind of have this like basket of rewards. So you get a little mixture of both. And I know Doc loves this because you get a little mixture of everything. You get some DeFi stuff with the CLF token, but then you get a lot more stable and secure and blue chip with the stable coins as well as the Bitcoin and then the gold. So yeah,
Right.
that's kind of the main runner of our ecosystem and how to participate. If anybody else wants to jump in here, I know there's a lot to
Before
cover.
you do, can I just say, could we turn the live stream off because we are about to max out on listeners while it's on, and there are a lot more people that might want to jump in and hear what you guys have to say. So I just thought maybe if we can turn the live stream off, it would just allow more people to jump in and listen,
Cool.
which they're doing right now, which is great.
So-
Yeah, it's good. It means that people want to hear what you guys have to say, right? And they're super interested in the project. But before you go on, that particular token, the CLF, if I want to get it pre-sale, how do I go ahead and do that?
Yeah, good question. You guys want to take that?
Yep.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
Yep.
Doc.
Go. All right, I'll take it. Yeah, no problem. Absolutely. So we're going to be starting our pre-sale this Friday on March 17th. I think we actually decided it's probably going to run live around 9 a.m. Eastern to start. It will run for up to 2 weeks or until we reach our hard cap of 500K. The actual pre-sale site, it's going to be run through our DApp. So our contracts have actually already come back. We've had everything. They passed their audits, which is great. The DApp's being finalized right now for the pre-sale portion. You'll be able to participate that with either USDT or BUSD. There will be a minimum of a $50 BUS. I think a $50 minimum is what we have without any maximum. And then for every $1,000 that someone spends within the pre-sale, they will be eligible for a pre-sale NFT, which we'll talk about those as well. But that's really the nuts and the bolts of the pre-sale, when it's going to start, how it's going to work, and the caps.
And one of the things that I read that you guys are doing, which I find interesting, and I haven't necessarily seen this all that often, if at all, is that you guys are automatically going to create a liquidity pair with that, right? So that you're not going to force people to come in and bring extra capital once you go live. Is that, have I got the correct understanding there?
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And this actually fits in with what we were talking about with our XCLF, which is basically sort of liquid lock staking. So instead of, if you participate in the pre-sale, there's going to be a 10% premium, right? This will be the last chance to get CLF at a discount. And so say you put in $1,000. Well, instead of getting back $1,100 worth of CLF, you're going to get back $1,100 worth of CLF wrap Bitcoin liquidity position, right? And this is going to do a number of things that we think everybody's going to love. Number one, obviously, it's going to result in really, really thick liquidity from start, which helps with volatility and stability. The second thing is, one of the reasons you see a lot of tokens dump at launch potentially may be is that folks want to sell a portion in order to be able to pair up and provide liquidity. We're set up in a situation where that doesn't need to happen. And it lets participants really get involved very quickly without a lot of gas fees, without having to create further liquidity. And it lets the participants start essentially getting all or most of those trading rules, right? Some of the volume. That will be the highest level from the start. So rather than that position being mostly a POL or protocol owned position, rather it will be the participants. So they'll be the ones who are making the choice and how they want to move forward and reaping most of the benefits from it. So we think it's going to be a really popular decision that we decide.
I agree, and I love that. Sorry, Crypto, I'll let you jump in a second. I love the fact that you guys are creating that LP already and mindful of the dumping aspect of it, which is one portion, but also the fact that people might not necessarily have that extra capital to bring in. And what this doesn't do is leave them worrying about where they might have to find it. And then, like you said, dumping a token they don't want to have to dump because they want to keep it. So I think it's a smart way to move forward, and it really speaks to how cognizant you guys are of A, investor behavior, but B, how you can better serve the people that are going to be investing in your protocol.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, Kirk, real quick, and I just want to say this just to clarify too. I don't want people to think that's the only liquidity. We will absolutely be forming a protocol-owned liquidity position as well. So it's not just going to be the community. Collective Finance will have a protocol-owned liquidity position as well. So go ahead, Kirk. I'm sorry, bud.
Yeah, no, you're fine. You're fine. I wanted to bring it to everybody's attention that, Doc had mentioned that our contracts are done. Our DApp, you're going to be able to get into the pre-sale on our own, basically our own link. And that's working. They're working hard on it right now to get the code linked up with the DApp so we can get that finished up. And we think we should have that all completed by tomorrow. We're working really, really hard at that. This is the first time I've actually said when we think we're going to have something completed, but we are really close to pre-sale. So
a bit of alpha. Yeah, your pre-sale's Friday, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I usually never talk about dates because I always like to under promise and over.
Don't worry, no one's listening. It's just us, right?
Yeah, right.
So yeah, tomorrow is great. I like that.
Yes. And then one more really important thing I wanted to bring to liquidity and locking up liquidity and those locked positions within our ecosystem. Were we going to cover that?
Yes. Yeah. Of course, you guys have got as much time as you need. So, strap in because this could be a long one. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is really, really important to know. This has made a locked position now semi-liquid. We've been able to take these locked positions and have them be represented within their own NFT. So essentially, those NFTs, I'm going to try to nail it here because NP's not here, but he's really good at explaining it. Those locked positions, what has been able to figure out is they can actually be combined. So say you have a 30 or 60 and a 180-day lock position, you had like several different ones with different tiers. You can then take that lock position, combine those together into one lock position, and then it basically burns everything up to whatever that one NFT that you've combined all those lock positions into, and then it restarts it for that one lock position. And then those NFTs can then be, tradable on the market. And then when that comes up to, or that NFT lock position expires, then the NFT gets burnt. So takes it out of circulation. That's a really, and Doc, can you touch on that a little bit?
Absolutely. I'm so glad you brought this up. I can't,
Yeah.
I forgot to talk about this, right? So when you think about what XCLF is in essence, right, it's a locked staked liquidity position, right? And typically whenever we lock in DeFi, we're going to put in a 30, 60, 90, 180-day tier, whatever it may be. But sometimes, I know it does for me, it can be hard to lock away your tokens for that long into something that becomes completely illiquid, right? So what Crypsom was saying is that NP and our devs, we found ways to take this locked position and actually create a market for it and make it a semi-liquid asset. And it's done in a way in which it's represented by an NFT. So if you think about the information that is contained within that XCLF position, right? And then imagine, I like to think of it as almost like it's wrapped in an NFT. So then what that creates, there's a secondary market for that position or for that NFT. So say that somebody wants, they're in the 60-day lock and they have 29 days left, but they need to get out early for whatever reason. They have a bill to pay. There's a wedding coming up. Well, now they're going to be able to, on the secondary market within the NFT marketplace on the DEX, literally sell or trade that position with somebody else. Now, they might have to do so for a discount for 90 cents on the dollar, but they would essentially be able to cash out of their locked position. They can also do this in a way that it's not disruptive to the protocol because everything, all of the data within that NFT stays the same, right? So there's no changes in liquidity. It's just a new owner of that position. And then as Crypsom was saying, what that enables people to do is actually own multiple positions within the same tier, right? So you could have, say you have your normal position locked in the 60-day tier, but then you're on the marketplace and you see that there's one of these that's selling for 80 cents on the dollar and it's in the 60-day tier too, but it expires in 10 days. You would be able to pick that up, right? And then you would hold two of those positions. One might be expiring in 59 days, the other in 10 days, right? But it creates that secondary market and enables participants an alternative way out of that locked position where they could actually get access to their capital.
I'm glad you guys brought this up because it was one of the things I was going to touch upon. And it's something that before we kind of get into the returns and how people can earn, it's something that people should really dial into and think about what you guys have been able to do. And I'm going to ask soon why it was created, how it was created, if it was a happy accident that came about because you worked with the right people, if it's something that you guys thought about beforehand. But effectively what you're saying and what you're telling people is their locked position is not locked. It's liquid, provided there is a buyer on the secondary market. So while locking something, investing something for 180 days seems scary, in actuality, it isn't locked for 180 days. But what you do have to do is sell your entire portion on for the value that someone's giving you in order to be able to get that money. But if you do need money, if for whatever reason you don't want to be stuck in, if something happens, if there's an unforeseen circumstance, you can simply take the value of what you've got locked and sell it on to someone else. And I think that is huge for people to understand.
Yeah.
Yes, and Well said, and you're exactly right. That's it. You're literally what you're able to do is trade, sell, whatever what you want to call it, your locked position because it is represented within that NFT. It doesn't become unlocked when you do it. It's the same position. It's now
Right.
just a different owner, right? And we, Matt, we agree. Like we think this is profound in our opinion. This was something we all wanted to do, but we have to give NP the credit for this on the back end.
Yeah.
We literally woke up to a message, one day on Discord that was like, "Gentlemen, check this out," and we were like, "What?" And honestly, it took us a little while to conceptually grasp it as well. But once you do, it's very clear, and it's like, wow. And it's, the other thing it gives us an opportunity as a treasury that we can start to scoop up these positions as a revenue stream if they are selling at a discount, right?
Right.
And again, that's not only good for the treasury, it's good on the protocol on so many different levels. So,
Right.
yeah,
And I'm,
we
and I'm
really
glad you mentioned that, because one of the questions is always going to be, are they going to be buyback and burns? Are you guys going to buy back things at, at a certain rate? And if you're saying, well, one of the things you'll do is be able to sweep through and pick some of these up if they're going at a decent rate that you want to, it's only ever going to strengthen your treasury.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And
In
if you
terms
keep
of
enough.
what you guys, oh, sorry, go on after you.
Oh no, I was just going to say, and if you keep enough of your tokens locked and participating in this program, I would argue the point that would require you to have less buyback and burns, right? Which could be
Right.
considered somewhat wasteful on some levels. This really allows us to maintain long-term liquidity, right? And we all know how important that is, right? So I think that's just paramount in this sort of whole thing.
Right. In terms of the concept of it, I mean, once you grasp it, I think it's very easy to grasp that, this locked position, you've got to trade it all. But if you want to trade it and you want to get out, or you've got to move on to something else, you can do that, and somebody just buys up that locked position, and then they can continue to earn the yield on whatever's locked away. Is it something that you guys genuinely had at the forefront of your mind to want to do, and you needed to find the right person within your network that could execute it? Or was it a case of the right person within your network was able to execute it and therefore facilitated the idea for you in a way?
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say
Well,
it was the guy on our team. One of the founders was the one. He's very good at pioneering new ideas, and a lot of code within this ecosystem wasn't forked; it was all built. So yeah, a lot of this stuff was built by NP and some of our devs, and the idea of it was behind NP. So
yeah.
Right.
As you
he's
said before, it was definitely like a extremely happy accident. We weren't really expecting that, but when we saw the message and read over, we're like, this is definitely what we needed for this project. So
Mhm.
Yeah, it just
I think it's great.
took us to the next level. Like it wasn't collective finance and the principles behind it would work without it. But this is one of those things that just like you said, it takes it to the next level and it could become sort of a backbone and honestly something that people may sort of copy this mold potentially.
hmm Um, let's go to how you've raised funds, and you've gone through angel investors. I have mixed thoughts on angel investors. You guys have been one. So what was the thinking behind it, and how did it go as a vehicle for raising funds that you wanted to raise?
Super
great
glad you
question.
asked that. You guys mind if I take this one?
Oh yeah, Doc. Yeah, all you.
Perfect. Good. So I think first to note, Cripsam and I have been really big angel and seed round investors in the DeFi space for a long time. And we've seen a lot of the stuff that's done right and we've seen things go terribly, terribly wrong. One of the questions that we get now, or we've gotten recently as well, what's going to happen with the angels or the seed round investors? What's their vesting schedule? How about them dumping? And one of the things about that is because of Cripsum and NP's frankly experience in fundraising and being sort of the seed capital, we were able to come up with a really what we call robust seed offer for our angels, but also one that was really, really protective to collective finance as a protocol. And we have some amazing, amazing angels. There's a few handful, there's not a few hundred. We know them all very, very well. And the way that they are going to receive of their portion is going to be in a mix of XCLF, so a locked position, right, as well as some a vested token schedule over time, and then our angel NFTs. So there's not going to be that really potential for that large bolus of seed round investors for the what I guess people would call that dump right at the beginning, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that all, we know our angels very, very well. It's a small group. We've created something within collective finance that's called the Angels Table, and what this is essentially it's like a board of advisors or de facto almost like a watered down board of directors, and really the Angels Table is going to provide insight and guidance and direction on the protocol. We are strong believers in that angels are not just capital, that they have intellectual value, they have a collaborative value, and we really want to hone in on that, right? So we feel super confident that we know our angels didn't get in to dump or try to make a few bucks right off a jump. So between those two mechanisms, we try to put people's mind at ease with regard to that launch. We had a really successful seed round. It's a super hard time to raise money. Kripsam and I have raised millions of dollars in the real world before, and it's hard right now. But we were really successful doing it, and we have the angels that we were hoping for, which is great. So hopefully that addresses that a little bit. Crip, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I saw just a question about, oh gosh, where was it? Here it was about voting, decision making. Do communities members have the right to decision making? Okay, so that's a really important question because it kind of ties into our governance and how all that works. Is now a good time to cover that?
Sure. I mean, I've still got a question on the angels, if I may, and then I can move into that.
Of course.
And just so you guys know, I'm always reading the questions, so none will be ignored. I'll try and feed them in to the conversation where I can. What is the kind of vested period for those? Do you guys have concrete numbers on that? So if somebody says specifically, are you guys releasing the information on how long their amounts will be locked away and what they're going to trickle through? And secondary question to that is, I like how positively you guys speak about these angel investors, and I like that you are going to turn to them for advice and put them at an angels table in order to discuss how to move forward. But in business, feelings don't make you money at the same time. So if someone is not acting in the best interest of your protocol, if community members start to get a bit concerned about the way in which one of these angel investors might be going about talking about the protocol, what measures are you guys going to take, or do you have to put in place in order to mitigate against that particular problem?
Good question. Yeah, I can. Do you want me to cover, Doc? I'm certain.
Yeah, fire away, man.
Yeah, so I would say that it goes back to the core team, us four founders. Ultimately, we will kind of direct and it's our job is to listen to everybody as a whole. So I will say that it doesn't have to be specific, but I will say it's going to be well guided between us and the angels, and then the CLF governance in the ecosystem. Now, if there's like a crazy event or people don't like the way things are going, we are not the type of people that are just going to turn our heads and say, oh yeah, sorry guys, yeah, you did get into the angel round, you don't have a choice, or you're not in governance, you don't have a choice. No, that's not how we are. We're always open to suggestions and very, very open to listening to everybody. It's important to know that.
Yeah, and to answer your first question, we have all of the angel details laid out. We still have like our pitch deck up, I think, on the white paper and stuff. But all the details are there for everybody and anybody to see what angels receive, what they're getting, and a majority, I want to say, I think it's like 80% or more of their position is going to be in XCLF, which is locked, and it is at least for 90 days. But a lot of the angels are actually choosing to do 180 days. So it just shows that the people that we have brought in are committed people. They're here, not just for a quick flip or a quick return, but they wanted their vesting to be the maximum it possibly could to get the most rewards out of the ecosystem.
Yeah. And can I add a little something to that with the angels? As Doc said, we've raised some money in our businesses in real life, and also off-chain capital investments is something that we've tried to help facilitate into collective finance for the angel round. So I've been able to kind of gather some of my network and off chain as well. And I can tell you that those type of investors are more traditional investors. And if you understand traditional investors and the VC mindset, it's not a quick flip. It's not necessarily gen play. So our angels, pretty much for the most part, I can speak for a lot of our angels. I'd say 95% of them that are very good players, and that's why we chose them.
Great. And will those one of the things we will touch on as well is that you guys have mentioned time and time again in your AMAs that if somebody wanted to get in, they can reach out. It doesn't guarantee them an angel spot, but it does mean that you guys are always open to that conversation. Is that still the case as of today? That if someone says, "Oh, I want to perhaps become one of your angel investors," are you still open to that dialogue, or is that chapter closed so that you're moving as you move into your pre-sale?
We're absolutely open to that dialogue for sure. And really what we want is people who are interested in participating, people that believe in collective finance, what we're about and what we're trying to do. So absolutely, if it's something that you're interested in and that fits your investment appetite and profile, please let us know. I will say this openly that obviously our current angels that we have, whatever we do is always in the utmost fairness and respect to them. But if you are interested in that, yes, please reach out to any of us. We're happy to have a discussion.
Great. And again, I think that talks on and speaks on how you guys view your communities. I think it's great that you guys are open to have a discussion, even if a round has passed, because it means you're open to ideas and you're open to people who might be able to bring value to that table. And of course, the reason I ask about the angel investors is there are some people that are going to be maybe slightly concerned that their voice will outweigh theirs. And I know you said, Crypton, that no, you're going to be listening to everybody, and that feeds into the question you were going to answer, which is the governance and how the community can be part of that governance voting. So can you talk me through that a tiny bit?
Yeah, of course. I'm gonna let. I'm happy to nail it, but I think Chrome is really good at explaining this because this is his cup of tea here.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have everything set up in a really nice way, at least we think, so that it's going to be, inclusive to everybody in a sense. So as we've talked before, we have, us as founders, and we have the Angels table, which is just a small group of people that we all like, and it's going to be essentially like a board of directors. There's also going to be governance within the ecosystem, and that's going to be for all XCLF holders. So everybody that has XCLF NFT and any of the tiers, 30 days, 60, 90, 180, doesn't matter which tier, as long as you hold XCLF, you can participate and vote in governance. So you can kind of think of things working down in a tier in a sense where it'll kind of start at the top of the chain with us. We'll go work through a bunch of good ideas, what we think is going to work best, some changes maybe, and then it'll kind of run down through the angels table and then move on to community governance. And so it'll allow essentially everybody to get their voice in and pitch what they believe they think is right and what is the right direction for the project. So yeah, just again, everybody that has XCLF is going to be allowed to participate in governance, and that'll be coming up like all throughout the project.
Now, Doc, I've heard you speak in one of your AMAs that you eventually see the ecosystem moving towards the community making the majority of the decisions. But at the moment, if the decisions are not necessarily going in the right direction, how much control are you guys going to still maintain until that happens, that the community can fully take over? How much control will you guys maintain in order to ensure that whatever is being voted on is absolutely at the core of what you guys stand for and to the betterment of the protocol and community itself?
So a good way to explain this is basically like you can think of it as if the team and the Angels come up with a bunch of good ideas, let's say like up to 5 good ideas, then it's going to work its way down towards regular like XCLF governance. So we're never going to put up, I guess, just totally wild or random or even like votes that may hurt the protocol. Everything is going to be, in a forward, upward momentum, always for the better of the project in a sense. And those decisions and options will start at the top and slowly work their way down. That's majority for the beginning of this project here. But as slowly like time moves on, we want to allow more voice to the regular XCLF holders.
And
yeah, and I think
someone Oh, go on. Sorry, after you.
No, I was going to say, I think ultimately right now it's, and the responsibility is on our shoulders for this, and we take this very seriously. So, we are going to be the ones driving the decision-making process without question until the time comes to make that transition. And I think, as Chrome said, what we would ideally like to do is start to make that transition slowly, to make sure that the engine is running like it should be, that all the pieces are in place, and then start to institute basic governance advice, guidance, what you want to call it, and then expand on that over time. Now, where does that stop? I don't even know the answer. I don't think anybody does, right? But I think ultimately, from a control standpoint, for the foreseeable future, the core team would be ultimately the ones making the decisions, particularly if there was a disagreement.
Right.
No.
I like the use of responsibility in that explanation, because I think you guys are right in acknowledging that the responsibility does fall on your shoulders. And one of the pushbacks that you'll often get with governance tokens is that the votes aren't always going to necessarily go the right way, because some people that are invested just don't know the space well enough to make certain decisions, but suddenly here they are in a position to be able to make a decision, and those votes can be on a whim, and or someone might be able to influence a vote based on how much they hold. But you guys are effectively saying that you're still going to be steering the ship and sitting at the helm and making sure from an overview point of view that things are going to be going in the right direction.
Yeah, I think you could look at it like a board.
Mhm.
We're founders, but it's also you can look at it like a board, because that's how we treat it internally. And it has to be the decisions that go beyond the public, that's actually in the background, are very well thought out, and they're discussed with every single one of us. And now it's even brought up to our marketing team and everybody else in the project as well. So I can promise you it's going to continue to spread as far as input, and we appreciate all of it.
Great, and marketing is certainly something I'm going to touch on, because you guys obviously introduced one of the team members, the guy at the top, yesterday. So I'm keen to hear what you guys have planned there. And before we get to that, in terms of things like your treasury, your portfolio, can you break down what the vault, the treasury, and the portfolio does, and then we'll kind of discuss those a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, I've been waiting for this question. That's perfect. So I'll start off a little bit. Basically the vault treasury and the portfolio are one of the three main cogs within collective finance that's going to be producing revenue not only for the project but also for a lot of the participants as well. So the vault treasury and the portfolio are three separate units, but they all kind of work together to help each other. I'll quickly explain the treasury and then I'll let the other guys jump in. So the treasury is basically the protocol bank. It's going to be earning fees. It's going to be the main holder of the CLF token and the liquidity position. So it's going to be majority POL in the treasury. It's going to be staking the liquidity on the Vertex DEX to earn fees as well as dual emissions, so it can compound, grow its size, as well as give back rewards to participants and everything like that. So the treasury you can think of as kind of just a traditional treasury. It's going to act just the same as many others. But yeah, it'll have the POL and all that. You guys can jump in for the vault. Docker, Crip.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, no problem. I'll take the vault. I like this one, my favorite. So the vault, guys, the vault really, I feel like the vault's really one of the core aspects out of everything. And then really what the vault is the vault is the holder and the creator of our C tokens, right? Or think C gold, C silver, C diamonds. Right. So this includes obviously the vault, the portion which will be on the Ethereum side, at least with regard to Pax G, which will be holding that. And then this also includes on the Binance side the initial liquidity position, right? Because this will serve, as we discussed, sort of as a revenue stream here. Not sort of, it's definitely a revenue stream. And it's a little bit internal and a little bit external in that from jump, or at start when we launch, the collective finance will have that entire CGLD and stable position there in the liquidity pool. So obviously we will earn yield and rewards off traditional farming as well as mining, and this will be in a dual token reward system as well. Where we'll be earning back some of our own token as well as some of the Vertex token, which is our DEX token. Then there's also going to be trading fees within this pool, right? And it's there's not a tax on any of our seed tokens, but there is a 2% in and 2% out fee. The way that works on the Vertex DEX is that's actually paid in liquidity tokens. So what this
Mhm.
means for collective finance is that will enable our liquidity position to just perpetually grow, right? And then earn not only get bigger, but earn more rewards as such too. So that's the vault portion. It's going to be, if you think about it, the holder and the creator of all our C tokens.
Great stuff. And then on top of that, you have the portfolio, which I think is potentially the most interesting part for me to ask questions on. So can you guys explain that a little bit, how that's going to aid you? And then I've got a few questions on it.
Yeah, of course. I'll cover the portfolio. So the portfolio is really important to note that it is a collection of on-chain digital assets that's actually outside revenue generating for the protocol and its holders. I would say, again, that's so important to know that it's an outside revenue generating side of our project. Portfolio, it's basically going to be determined and voted on by the governance within the system, within XCLF, and also our angels. Kind of how that tier works, the kind of the founders or the board, and then to the angels, and then to the governance, and then again, if there's anybody with some outside ideas, feel free to open up a ticket and let us know. I look at portfolios like a additive to the ecosystem within the engine's oil, I should say. It's kind of to build long-term sustainability and kind of preserve the ecosystem and the revenue generation over longer periods of time. We don't. I guess we won't go too far in depth on what we're looking at investing in, but I will say that we have made some investments already. One being into the Kyoto protocol and the Vertex for our position to start up over there as well. So we do have access to some trading bots and some partnerships coming up. So be looking forward to that as well.
Now, I have a bone to pick with you because I've heard you say this several times that you won't talk too much on it, and I find it infuriating because, of course, I want that juicy information. Yeah. So, firstly, when are you going to be telling people about it? Because I think one of the key strengths when you talk about transparency is being as open and as honest with your community. And I'm not saying you're being dishonest before anybody thinks that, not at all. But one of the things is being open and honest with the community about what you guys have in the pipeline. And I think there's real strength when wanting to bring in, especially new investment, in being able to boast whom it is you work with. Your network is your net worth, if I quote your words back to you. So why not discuss that network in more depth so the 204 people listening can understand what it is that you guys are creating and why it is you're so excited about what you're doing?
Yeah, I think that's a really good important point. Yeah, I always say your network is your net worth, but I also hold my network pretty close to me. And, with that being said, I like I said, I like to under promise and over deliver. So until I have all the details for percentages, because a lot of that's been brought up on what kind of payout can we be looking at, and I don't want to have to, say any sort of percentage right now, because that's speculative on exactly what the percentage is going to be, because it's going to determine on a lot of different things. As far as the bots go, we've been working with a gentleman who's actually on our team that's directly working with another protocol for these bots. They're fully automatic AI bots that we've actually obtained many different subscriptions to, and are working on kind of working with these bots. And we kind of made a shift. We're going with some other bots, and I think that where we're headed now is a much better vision. And as far as some of the other investments like Kyoto, like I said, I mentioned that we did make an investment into Kyoto, and I am friends with Simon over there, and he ended up being a real, starting to gain a good friendship with him. Great guy. And then the Vertex, obviously, we have that investment as well. And as far as altcoin investments and partnerships, I think our main focus right now is on the pre-sale, because like I said, this is more of an additive. It isn't a key important part of our protocol, don't get me wrong. But as far as diving into all of the different altcoin investments, I'd rather wait. But there's at least 3 for people to chew on right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And just to add real quick to what Cripson was saying there, and like you said, Mad Hatter, well, everybody wants to know. Well, when it was just like when we executed with our investment in Vertec and our investment in Kyoto, we were really transparent about it, right? With regard to the different aspects of the revenue streams, whether it's the bots or potentially the forex trading, or maybe it's even just sort of mining and farming, we have some definitive ideas about that. However, we have not decided yet on how to execute, right? And I think we don't want anything to be diverted, right? We have an idea that's planned out. We want to put that together, get advice from our angels table like we discussed, and then be able to execute on that. So we're trying to give people a general idea. Hey, these are the types of things that the portfolio is going to be doing without sort of giving away our secret sauce yet.
Okay, and that's fair pushback, and I appreciate that pushback. I like it when somebody is brutally honest and says, "Well, we haven't decided yet. So if we haven't decided, why should we tell you?" And then we have to pivot in a different direction and disappoint you, and or create unnecessary hysteria where there doesn't need to be any. So
Yeah.
I can appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I am curious to understand what it is that you guys mean and what your criteria is when you say safe and consistent yields, because one of the things that you mentioned with your investments is that you guys are looking for something that is safe. And safe is a big word in this space because there are going to be people that will argue well, nothing is truly safe in DeFi, especially if you're just investing on chain. So what are you guys looking at, and what stood out with Kyoto outside of the personal relationship that you might have with the founders? Because Vertec and Kyoto, you guys have great relationships with those guys, but great relationships don't necessarily mean great returns in money, great yield, and or that they'll be sustainable. So what else was it that stood out that forced you guys in that direction for a partnership?
Yeah, perfect. I'll take this one real quick, and I think the easiest way to understand this is our investment in Vertec, right? So Vertec, the DEX that we're going to be launching on, it's a balancer V2 style DEX. And so obviously we're really committed to them. They are really committed to us. However, within this DEX, there is essentially a governance system that enables some voting, right? And with this voting power, you are able to direct emissions. With our pools, both our native pool as well as our seed token pools being on that DEX, they're going to be considered core pools. So by us investing in Vertec and then locking it in what's called their Volta position, we were able to gain governance voting. And with that governance voting, we're going to be able to push votes towards our native pools, which are going to result in increased yield and rewards from those pools, right? So whenever you think about it, it wasn't just, hey, we're investing in Vertec because we like it, right? We love those guys. They're, our favorites. But there was a direct reason why. With Kyoto as well, we believe in Kyoto's vision, what they're doing in refi. We've seen how they handle their community. We greatly admire them. And we're really excited for their layer one. Our hope, I'm sure people could read between the lines here, is to some point expand and be able to go to cross chain with a lot of our, particularly with our commodity tokens, right? So these are directed investments, I would say, not just random. Hey, these were our buddies. We like this protocol, that type of thing too. So hopefully that answers your question a little, Mad Hatter, about why.
It does. And if I tease you both a little bit, sorry, Cryptom, if I tease a tiny bit, what other protocols at the moment stand out to you and do you admire?
Oh, good question.
Oh man.
Yeah, Crip, you can talk about a few.
Yeah, I my gosh, there's so much building going on in the space right now. Sometimes it seems like there's a lot to choose from. As far as standing out, I really like what Kyoto's doing for their layer one, only because of my regenerative background. And that, and I want to touch a little bit on Kyoto as well. That wasn't just like like, hey, I met you, let's work together. It was, we actually Doc, made it. He's a decent holder over there, and that kind of somehow snowballed into. When I say your network is your net worth, we ended up getting connected from I ended up getting connected from a YouTuber because of my regenerative background to Simon. So that's how that kind of started off. And for me, just me directly. And then obviously we've been working on that relationship for a little bit now. Quite actually, it's pretty new. It's I would say within a month, but it's almost like I met this guy and you just know him. We've had video calls together. I pretty much know about his kids and his family and what he does. And so beyond just the touchy feely stuff, and good relationship. He's helped, Kyoto kind of focus more on a business standpoint. And I think that's really important for the space. So that's part of the reason too over there is that I know some of the things that are going on in the background and it's very business structured and I appreciate that. And beyond just friends, I believe they're going to succeed. And that's why we made, an investment over there.
I think it's also good to add to that, like what we consider safe investments is going to be largely guided by us and the angels, because as we've mentioned before, we have the angels table, and we definitely want people to pitch their ideas, show us, and allow us to do research into something that we can deem safe. I guess a lot of it will come down to us and the angels, and if we think that it's something worthwhile for our portfolio to take in to start generating revenue and yield for us and the participants. So yeah, it's always going to be decision making between us, the angels, and then eventually like ex-CLF holders as well, to make sure that what we're going to be participating in with the portfolio is something that I think everybody can agree on would be a good idea.
Right.
Yeah, and overall protocol safety, getting back to your question, Matt Hatter. This goes back to what I said earlier in the AMA. That you guys can see, I think, now with how we've described the portfolio and how we've described the vault in particular, how they have a net asset value, right? And whether this is gold and stables in an LP position or this on-chain collection of assets, right? These all have an underlying value that's just not going to zero overnight. Gold is not going to. I think probably all of us listening don't think Bitcoin is going to either, right? So for lack of a better term, these assets that we have by the protocol design are going to be consistently growing, right? They're designed to give yield back to participants. Priority number one. Priority number two is growth, right? By growing those net assets over time, that results in stability, right? And if you have growth and you have stability, I would argue that is at least a big portion of safety, right? That doesn't include the security part of it, but those things when we say a layer of safety, right? So, and by diversifying your exposure within a portfolio, as we talked about, CLF, Bitcoin, gold and hard assets, and then stables, you are at least offsetting some of the risk.
Good response. What I'm often hearing from you guys, of course, I've mentioned this already, and so have you guys, is that personal relationships are key. With that in mind, who checks who when it comes to not getting too carried away with liking someone versus liking them for their business acumen and what they're creating? Is there one of you that is the taskmaster? I would hope it's Doc, given the sexy husk under the voice. But is there one of you that's kind of the guy that comes out with the whip and says, hold on, let's take a step back, let's reevaluate it, let's look at these key points first before we decide that this is the right way to go?
Yeah, well, listen, I'm the doctor, and Crip is the cowboy. So who do you guys think ultimately craps that whip, right? So no, and I'll be honest with this. I think Cripsom, we all as a team, I think we listen to him, and Cripsom's one of these guys who's not afraid to say, "Hey, this is what I feel," right? And we have learned that to heed that, right? So I think Cripsom's ultimately our team's gut check, at least in my opinion, when the rubber meets the road.
Right.
Thank you.
I mean, it's good to hear that I ask only because I think sometimes it's important that the investors also kind of get a slight glimpse and insight into your interpersonal dynamics, so that they can understand how the ship is being steered. And I think people take a lot of strength from knowing that there is someone that sits there that will just say how they feel, and they're going to shoot you straight. And if you don't like it, you don't like it, but it's for the betterment of what they're doing with their business and not for your personal feelings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that people understand how close of a relationship that we really have too. That the trust in each other and the belief in each other, and we know that each one another have our backs. Like I've said it many times that the friendship and that I've developed, Crip Sam and I have developed, is so special. I think to both of us, right? And then Chrome, it's the same way, and P2. So I don't know. I don't want it to sound corny and be like a brotherhood, like hey, like pound our chest type of thing. But we really feel that within one another, and you can't fake it, and it wasn't forced.
Yeah.
Right.
Partnerships are really tough to structure sometimes, right? I mean, I've done it in real life, and it can be challenging. So the fact that us four, came together as partners and built this thing off of a strong partnership. Anytime we have decisions, we openly discuss it as a team. Yeah, I'm the guy that sits back and goes, I don't know about that. I'm going to play the advocate here, and let's discuss all the options. And yeah, I do that a lot. Sometimes I'm probably a pain in the butt, but I think it's necessary. So
No, I want to add into, I think that's kind of the beauty of our group, is that we all have a little bit of that in us. Because even me, like, I'll see stuff and I'll be like, guys, like, I don't think this is good. Like, we all have it in us to, like, none of us are afraid to hold back on our ideas and see if we see something that we don't think is going to be good or maybe a bad idea or might need to think on. Like, none of us are ever scared to say that, and we all work together like really well on that fact that we can really have good conversations, kind of break things down and see the negatives between things and really listen to each other. So
Good. You mentioned security, and let's talk on that a tiny bit. If anybody's been following the BUSD saga, then they know Paxos is having some issues right now. Does that influence your decision making in terms of PaxG? Do you monitor that closely? Are you at all worried? Will you pivot if you need to? How is that playing into your thought processes?
good
Yeah,
question.
I'll hop in here real quick. So we have been monitoring this as closely as could be. So, if you look at this too and you get down into it, we could all talk about the reasons why, what happened with BUSD. BUSD didn't fail, in our opinion. It was more of a poke at Binance more than anything else. When you look at the regulatory statements that have been issued about Paxos and about their other tokens, so being PaxG and their Pax Dollar, right? They've all said blatantly that there's no changes in those. There's no regulatory concerns. Those are regulated and approved in the U.S. Right? I think it's the New York District of Financial or DFS, whatever you call it there. But no, we are not too concerned about that. As well from a PaxG standpoint, I can tell you that for sure. Honestly, we are more concerned about the stable coins than we are gold, right? So,
Right.
and it's crazy. Like we've been through BUSD and then USDC, and then it's like going to Tether, and it's like, well, hold on, wasn't Tether the big bad wolf 3 or 4 months ago too? So it's been sort of wild, and we always fall back and we laugh because we say like, yeah, it's great. Our protocol's built on gold and Bitcoin, and we'll take that any day of the week.
Great. I said I was going to ask this. Your backgrounds are diverse and interesting. I think the fact that you come from a medical field is interesting. And, I'm wondering if the renewable energy direction, Cryptome, that you were in is perhaps going to play a part in what you guys are thinking about building out. Do you guys plan to start to transition towards those two directions, given your background? And if you are, how much of a position of advantage are you guys going to be in based on where you come from?
Man, you're really dangling the carrot for me and Crip.
Fight it.
Crip, you want to go first, bud?
yeah, I'll take this. That's a good one. So I am actually directly working with some folks already in the renewable side. I have some meetings tomorrow, or let's see, what's tomorrow? Thursday, Friday. I have some meetings on Friday. So that's in the works. As far as detail about company details and whatnot, I can't disclose that. Somewhat under an NDA. But I will say that it's going to be focusing on heavily on renewable energy, and it's very unique. I will say there's nothing out there right now that I know of in the world that's like it. So I'm not saying we're going to change the world, but I will say that it's going to be a game changer, and we're trying to figure out a way to implement this directly onto the blockchain. We're just looking at options right now. So as far as like what collective finance could potentially represent or be a part of in the future, I absolutely see a part of that somehow being integrated, whether it be, into the refi movement or whether it be an investment opportunity. There's
Right.
definitely something in the future for sure, because it's not like I'm, I want everything that I can to that I'm a part of to succeed. So, in order to succeed, it takes a lot of people. It doesn't just take the team. So, every has to be a decent adoption, and you've got to have something good. And so, yeah, I think that that's going to be in the future, but that's a little ways down the road.
Sure. And just to piggyback off that before I let the doctor speak, um, I think it's good for your investors to know and anybody listening to know that just by the fact that you are involved in this project and renewable energy, it gives this project exposure to that field. Even if nothing comes to fruition for a little bit of time, the fact that that exposure there is there and that discussions can happen
Yeah.
should be bullish for anybody who enjoys that particular direction. And certainly who is watching the current state of affairs, especially with the Russian-Ukrainian war and what's going on with energy there, that renewable energy is going to become something that a lot of countries are going to start to fall back on. And as that happens, it is inevitable that it's going to trickle into this space.
Yeah, it's actually already happening, which is great. Um, you know, some of the countries that these guys are working with are, Norway, South Africa. Uh, gosh, they're going all over the place. They're even over in Hawaii. It's just kind of all over the map. But
Right.
I will say that this isn't something that's brand new, and it's been around for a few, I'd say 10 plus years. But the fact that they have this really great idea, and I will say that now that they've got a good team that's going to be, I think, going to be building out here soon, it's going to be great. There's already a structure going up right now in the States. So I can't talk too much more about it, but without
Sure.
getting in trouble. But yeah, I will agree that it will give people exposure to it, just kind of being around. And as far as if they want to hear more about what we got going on, I'll have a podcast going. It's called Bridge the Gap. And at some point, I'll try to get
Nice.
that over to you when we get that going, because I'll have one of the gentlemen that I'm working with. He'll be coming on the podcast and be able to explain a lot more in the future.
Yeah, please do. Doctor, I'm certain the medical field is looking at this space with a keen eye. What can you give me in terms of what you guys or what you might have as an idea for that?
Yeah, I love this question too, and I don't get it. I don't get it that much. So thank you for asking. I think it's sort of two parts of an answer, at least for me. One of the things that I think Cripsum and I really like to do and explore is taking things and concepts from off chain and bringing them on chain, for that integration. So I would say, just like Cripsum has his projects he's working on, I have a particular product a development project that I'm working on, that I'm still sort of exploring with, in ways that we can bring it on chain and integrate it into collective finance. It actually, as crazy as it may seem, one of the components of it links back to a lot of the stuff that Cripsom does. So it's like, man, a small world there. One of the other things that I really am trying to do, and I think it's is bring out doctors who are in crypto or in the DeFi space. It's one of these things. I've been around for a while, and just like I haven't met that many other physicians in the space. And then just recently, I started meeting some amazing people. Ralph, who's a physician, he's one of the leaders over at Sphere. I'm just meeting some of these other doctors. So we're trying to bring some of the doctors together who are in the DeFi space and just sort of talk what brought us here, what are commonalities between us, what are observations and things like that too. So I guess I approach it from two different levels, not only like intrinsically what's going to help collective finance, but maybe from a doctor physician exposure in DeFi. You know what I mean? So that's just my personal take.
Great stuff, and I'm excited to see where it could go and how it could how your respective fields could come into this space. One of the questions inevitably is going to be from your investors: when marketing. It's one of those things that always comes up, and I know you guys introduced someone that you think is going to be particularly special to the team yesterday, and I heard them speak and was impressed. Why this particular person? Why do you think that they're going to be able to aid you guys so well, and why are you so excited about bringing them on?
I think it goes back to our network too, Doc. I mean, you can cover, if you'd like, Chapo and kind of how we came about all this.
Yeah, sure. So I think it goes back to operating on like sound business principles. And Cripsam and I have not only been around in the DeFi space for a while, but we've run businesses, which I like to think were successful. So we asked ourselves, how do you set yourself up to do that? And I think it's number one, not being overconfident and realizing that you can't do everything yourself, and then putting yourself together with the right advisors and leaders. And I think we've done a really good job of that from start. Our KYC with the store, El Chapo over there, we've kept him as one of our key advisors. They have been amazing. They've been able to make connections for us, just like Cripsam said, that otherwise maybe we weren't able to have. And we knew that if we wanted to play with the big boys, then we needed to really walk the walk as well. So, for example, in the marketing standpoint, we knew that we needed somebody not only to, not only put YouTube videos and AMAs, but really to lead our marketing and advertising and branding. So, after doing a bunch of interviews, we were able to hook up with Grady, and he's been amazing. And this guy's a real pro, and he has an entire team that's dedicated to social media, PR, business development, the whole kit and caboodle, right? So we were able to put this absolutely key component into the hands of a true professional that's not only coming in as an advisor and a consultant, but it's going to be with us a long way. We've developed some amazing relationships with a lot of influencers and promoters, and this is not just because of collective finance, it's because we've been around a long time. So we wanted to make sure that on the marketing, PR, advertising part, that we did two things. Number one, we didn't drop the ball, and number two, we didn't spend or waste money, right? So we think we've come up with a pretty effective plan. So, and part of that's being here with you guys today.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And I like that you say you haven't wasted money. That is something that comes up a lot when it comes to marketing, and people always gripe that, well, you said you were going to do this, that, and the other, and then you wasted it on X, Y, and Z. And I think having a plan that you guys set out that you're going to try and stick by, and then bringing someone in you're excited to work with, is ideal for making sure that the money that you spend, you can maximize and get the best out of that particular pot that you guys are putting towards that.
Yeah, we've been very I guess lucky in a sense, but we've been very strategic in what we've done and what we've put capital towards, and we're just fortunate enough that we have built out like a really good, as Cripsam says, network is your net worth. So we have a fantastic network of people, and obviously gaining more people on, talking to the right people, like the right advisors, and doing this has allowed us to be successful on this path, and we're extremely excited to keep it going and bring more fruition out of it.
And I'd like to say too that just so everybody knows, like marketing is like 50% of what we've been doing. I mean, it is. We have a huge marketing plan laid out, guys. I mean, a huge one, and I don't say that lightly. I mean, we have press releases coming out. We have all kinds of marketing plans laid out for not only the immediate, but the future as well, on into launch, through launch, and just continue the progression of the marketing.
Great, and I look forward to seeing what you guys have planned and how you're going to tackle it, and what's going to come out. I think press releases are exciting, and just I think people underestimate just doing the rounds and how much effort it takes to do the rounds and speak day in, day out, sometimes multiple times a day, answering the same questions with AMAs. It feels from the outside looking in, you don't necessarily appreciate how much hard work that is, but also it slowly starts to trickle the information to as many people as you can. And especially with something as complex as what you guys have got going on the surface of it, it's important to keep that up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I know people that have went off after aggressive marketing campaigns that cost over $1 million. But, we don't have that kind of capital to work with right away. That wasn't what we were trying to do. So like Doc said, we've been really trying to focus heavily on not wasting any money. We put a lot of our own money into this to get going. I mean, I basically took everything I had left because I believe that we could build something that was going to be, sustainable longer term. And
Right.
everything I had left went into it. And I don't, at this point, I just want success for everybody.
So one of the questions you're going to get is that a strong community not only brings interesting ideas to a project, right, but attracts larger partners. What initiative are you guys going to bring in to build out a strong community? Is there anything that you guys have planned? Is that part of your marketing? How are you guys going to approach that?
Yeah, that's a great question. We have tons. One of the things that I obviously spearhead is community, social media, stuff like that. And I'm all about growing a large, Discord community, Twitter, Telegram. I think DeFi is really all about community, especially when you look at large projects and even I would say successful projects that have had bad teams that have done extremely well just because of the community engagement, the growth, and everything like that. So I think it's definitely a key part, and we're going to be doing lots to ensure the growth of that, keep it going. We have tons of events, campaigns, giveaways, like so many things planned to keep engaging with the community as we grow. And that's actually something that the marketing kind of helps with as well, is being able to coordinate, plan, strategize, and plan out these things to really make them kick off and be as effective as possible. So yeah, there will be like tons of giveaways, competitions, events, games, things like that. We have so many plans for the future. I even have ideas for developing out an entire game just so that we could have something cool to play with all the community and stuff. But obviously that's like way future, like far out. But definitely, I
Right.
think community is a big aspect, and we're going to be pushing that hard.
Yeah, I think one of the things too, to follow up just real quick, sorry, is that one of the lessons we learned from one of our advisors at the beginning, and they're absolutely right, is that marketing, advertising, and community, it's not all what you pay for. There's so much of it needs to be organic and true, and we've really tried to have a big focus on that. And I think if you come into our server and you come into our Discord, you'll see the people are there, and the people that are there, the promoters, the influencers, and everything. They're not there just because we paid them. They're there because we built relationships with them, and they believe in us just like we believe in them, right? So and then when you put that type of environment, and then you add the engagement like Chrome was just talking about, we think that's how strong communities are built. And collective finance isn't built like about a flash in the pan. We're not promising you 3% a day. It's not like that, right? We're built for the long haul. So the community is all that much more important to us.
And do you expand that also to to team members? I mean, I imagine I could answer this one on your behalf, but team members, you guys, because you guys sound so open. Because one of the things I get when I'm talking to you, in particular, is that you're open to ideas, suggestions, and people bringing in expertise. But I'll ask it anyway. In terms of expanding the team, is that always on the table? If someone comes with a certain set of skills that you guys think are going to be useful?
Yeah, I think that's important to know that we do have to expand the team over time to scale, right? I mean, scalability is important. And, over the next few years, we have, as far as the roadmap goes, like we've been trying to get it all together for the roadmap beyond the phases, as that's been requested. So we are working heavily on that because we already have a bunch of ideas that just need to get into an infographic. So we're working hard on that. But I will say, with the marketing guy, one of the Grady, one of the things he asked was, what do we look like 18 months, 2 years down the road? That was one of his first questions. And I thought, you know what, this is exactly what I wanted to hear, because this is how I think, this is how we think. And it's brought up a lot. We want to be fully decentralized at some point, everything automated. So that's a big goal. I shouldn't say goal. That's a big task to work towards. Goals are short term, so keep the forward momentum and progression up, and that's where we're headed.
Yeah, I think
Agreed.
I want to add just exactly what you said, Mad Hatter, is like if somebody comes and they have a specific skill set that maybe we're slightly lacking, or maybe some of us just don't have, like that's awesome. That's perfect. We want to bring, people that are here to build, do something better for the space, and have something to provide onto the team, into the community, wherever they see fit and wherever we see fit. To try and help and onboard new users, because just as Cripsom said as well, like it's all about scalability and growth, and to do that we definitely need to bring on people that are willing to build and have something that they can provide.
Great. I touched a little bit on the aspect of you guys having something that seems complex. Is part of the process that you guys are going to have moving forward also to educate people with, are you going to be doing videos, perhaps daily or weekly conversations in your Discord?
Yes.
How are you going to approach that particular angle?
We have a lot of different content creators that are going to be making videos on how to participate within the ecosystem. So yes, that's going to be done. That's a must. That has to be done to help everybody be educated. Yes.
Yeah, something that I like to work on too, and I've done in the past, is building out education sections, strategies, guides, kind of helping. I love helping new people get into stuff and helping them learn. Everybody has to start somewhere, and I had to start somewhere too. So everybody's got to learn in the space, and that's something definitely that we'll be taking initiative on to make sure that we can onboard new users, bring them in, help them, educate them, and show them. And definitely with, like as Cripsom said, with video guides and video representation, infographics, all that type of stuff is definitely going to be happening. I even think like at some point I'll be making some team videos on like some small things, and I've been making like YouTube shorts and stuff like that. But 100%.
Great. I think it's always good for people to know. I know, to name a project that has done very well for itself, EMP was very hot on education, and I think they really showed what education can do for their community. And having a well-informed community means that you guys have people that will answer questions. As David from Titano said in his Q&A, and I agree with that also, someone who will jump in and answer questions before you guys even need to get there is vital, right? And it really shows strength in how your community members understand. So if you guys are going in that direction, I think you'll be following suit in terms of strength and growth like they have.
That's what we're shooting for, is strength and growth. And yeah, we do. Actually, AJ's been around for quite a while. I reached out to him not that long ago, and I'm in open DMs with him as well. He seems like a really nice guy over the last several years.
He is.
So been successful too. I would say that. Credit, hats off to them. So
I've only got a couple more questions, and then I'm going to ask you to really kind of get into the how can they make money portion of it, which is where does the investor first put their cash? What do you guys want to see for them with their money? But before that, one of the things that every person that sits behind a protocol, because they are human beings, one of the things that they're going to have to overcome are problems and difficulties, challenges. You can look at it as maybe a unique point by which you can gain some extra knowledge. What have your challenges been individually in terms of tackling this particular project, and how have you mitigated against that challenge?
yeah, I'd like to say, it's really important to try to bridge the gap between kind of Web 2 to Web 3. It's tough because I see a need for more people to come into the DeFi space. So just me personally, as I've been working on off-chain investments, and some of my off-chain guys, the first question they have is like, well, how is this related to Bitcoin? It's like, that's one of the first things they bring up. So it's been challenging for me to try to make that gap, and I've been working really hard on it. And I'll say that there are some cool things coming my way for a special wallet that's supposed to help bridge Web 2 to Web 3. And I'm working with a guy to obtain one of these. And if things go well, I plan on bringing that over to Collective for our folks over here. So that's one of my biggest hurdles I've seen so far for me.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I'll
think
tell you.
with challenges and stuff, it's more of at least for me personally, it's been more of a learning opportunity. Every single challenge that I come up against is not much of a challenge, but a way that I can better myself and learn how to strive and work past that. So we've been very lucky to not be faced with many challenges at all. We've done super successful in many ways. Obviously, not everything in life is perfect, but yeah, I see everything as just a new opportunity for us to learn and better ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you guys two like real challenges that are true, honest. Number one for me, and I know this is the same thing for Cripsom too, has been time management, right? We're pretty active guys, taking on starting a protocol, doing things like this as well. It's like a complete another job and another business. So time management is a true skill, right? So I think on a personal level, that's something for us too. I think on a protocol level, capital management, it's a thing that's so important, and I feel so happy that again we have real life business experience for this in the past, because capital management during the times of starting a protocol is an extremely stressful thing, no matter how successful you are, right? I can tell you that from experience. So those two things, it's not like we've overcome them and done real well, but when you ask what's been the most difficult for me personally, that's what I'd say.
Right. Okay, great. I think it's always good to ask that question, um, because there are challenges, and also I say this every single time I speak to a protocol. There are human beings that sit behind these endeavors, and people often ignore the fact that these human beings have to work extraordinarily hard. And you mentioned it, Doc, time management. It is a skill in of itself, and if you can get it right, then you can really build great things. But it is also very, very difficult to stick to at times, especially if you are, a multi-million-dollar business owner, especially if you're an acting doctor, especially if you're someone who has to organize the space in a coherent manner. And you're organizing the Q&As, and there's so many moving parts to that. People need to sometimes remember that there are human beings, and they're going to be challenges that you guys have to overcome. But also there's going to be things that are great and exciting for you. What things have you guys found that you didn't expect to enjoy but are enjoying?
Oh, that's a really good
Yeah.
question. I've never gotten that before, but I think that's actually one of the best questions. Um, I think
Thank you.
a lot of it comes through, as we talked about before, networking and growing. One of the things I've enjoyed is being able to really like talk to a lot of more people in space, especially like, people like you, Brent, and other people. I've been in a couple of conversations where, Brent has gone up and talked about rebellion and stuff, and super it's super good to listen to, and I think it's awesome just to be able to like chat with these people, get to learn about them as a human being, as you say, because there are people are human beings behind the screen here, and so getting to build those relationships and work with people and really grow your network and expand has been like just such an awesome thing for me personally. I think the other guys can agree, but I'll let them come in.
Yeah,
Can I?
I think for me, and I have a feeling Trip will have a similar answer. It's taken such a long time to build, and so much effort and time and money and thought and stress, and so to see it come into fruition and to see the community's response, that to me has been like the most fulfilling thing so far. And I'll be honest, it's really driving me right now too, right? That excitement, that the belief in what you're building and getting that momentum behind you. It's I didn't think I would appreciate, or I didn't know I would appreciate that part of it so much.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I want to touch on something. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, man, and Chrome. But I also want to say something too about like a little bit of a success story that kind of got me going and be an entrepreneur. I took kind of a bet on myself that I could do it. I could make a business work, right? And I had been kind of underneath of a guy learning about finance, learning about businesses, learning about real estate development, management, time management, everything you can imagine. I was running. Funny enough, I was running a ranch for him and also his key man. We would fly kind of all over the place, and it was just a lot of fun and a lot of learning opportunities, which led then to me starting my own business. After I started my own business, I had, I went down, filed the paperwork. I had $1,000. In that less than a year, I turned that 1,000 into a 500x return. And so it was, I didn't have anybody to really celebrate with because I'm kind of the way I grew up. I just have always kind of done things myself and tried to learn from people that were much older and wiser than me. So I have a little bit older friend group as I'm 30 years old. But I will say,
Are you really?
Yeah, yes, sir. So
you speak extraordinarily maturely for a 30-year-old. I'm going to circle back to that, and I'm going to let you finish your thought, and I'm going to circle back to that.
Oh yeah, no. Thank you. But I'll say like what's really been unique for me is like when you do a startup and it starts to gain traction. For me, that's like I could care less about the money. I really could. What's important to me is that with what we're doing, it shows me that people are starting to believe in us, and that's more important to me because I don't take it lightly. If I'm going to put my heart and soul and put my face out there and represent something, I'm going to give it my all. I have 2 kids. I have a wife. I have multiple businesses. I have employees. I have lots of friends in real life that I still have to maintain those relationships with. But I also have probably a better group of network within DeFi for around the world than I do in my personal network in real life, but they both kind of compound and build on each other. And so I just appreciate everybody showing up and kind of supporting us. That's what's most important to me is the fact that people are seeing what we're doing, and I appreciate everybody being here. It means a lot.
Thank you, guys. And to circle back to that, what I was going to say is it's refreshing to hear people that are grounded and mature in their responses. As we know, this space is also full of incredibly bright, young, innovative minds. But with that also can come, some problems in of itself. But when you're speaking to people who come from business backgrounds, medical backgrounds, who know their onions, it's really good to be able to talk to them because the maturity comes through, and not only does it come through in the way that you explain things, but it will come through in the way you build out your protocol, and it will come through in the way that you handle your investors. And I think those things are key.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate that. And yeah, 30 years old. One of the things I always tell everybody is like, it's not about the age, it's about the miles, right? It's not about the age, it's about the miles. And I've put on a lot of miles, but there's a lot more to go.
Right. Guys, we're almost hitting the 2-hour mark. So I won't keep you for too much longer. Let's get and circle straight back to the juicy stuff. You got a pre-sale on Friday. People want to make money with you guys. They've listened to you guys for 2 hours, and we've hardly had a dip in audience members. So certainly they're interested in what you guys have been saying. Where do you advise they start? What do you suggest they do? Where should they be putting their money if they want to invest with you?
Yeah, I think Doc, you want to cover this one, man?
Yeah, sure. I'll hop in. So,
Perfect.
number one, the biggest thing is to, I think, obviously getting in on the pre-sale and being ready for that. We're going to have that going for up to 2 weeks or until we reach that cap, right? So, if you're interested, I think getting involved early is the way to go. I also think that if you're interested, the pre-sale and if we're going to have a limited amount of them, so it's going to be, I think, 500, right? So, if that's one of the things that you're interested in doing to get in early, again, is going to be key. Now, not financial advice. I want to make that very clear. Everybody's going to be participating in a different way within the protocol, right? But the way I personally look at it is that from launch, if we're able to give out a lot of liquidity, and there's a lot of people that are locking tokens, and there's not a lot of tokens that are going to be sold. There's going to be and there's some buy pressure there. That's a really nice combination. Now, how best to play it from there? I think that all depends on what you are looking for. if you're looking for long-term yield and consistency and getting in from the beginning, I think the XCLF play is absolutely the way to go. If you're really interested more on the pre-sale and then trying to make a few bucks on it, which is completely fine, then maybe not locking your entire position, but just a portion of it is the way to go. Maybe some people have more of a predilection towards gold. Maybe some people have more predilection to a volatile protocol type token. So I think the beautiful thing about it is that if you participate in the pre-sale, when you get back that liquidity position, the choice will be in your hands. And it will be in your hands without requiring more capital investment, right? And to me, as an investor, that's super appealing because it doesn't force me to make a particular choice. I have options, which I like. So I know maybe I hedged a little bit there in answering that question, but
No,
I
not at
think
all. I mean, go for it.
no, I was just going to say, I think we tried to set it up in a way that we would give the participants the most different opportunities to engage how they felt was the best fit for their investment profile.
Great. And I'll reiterate one more time that, these locked positions, if you want or need to exit them, you are in a position to do so. They are creating something truly unique with these NFTs. They have partnered with Vertex to do it. It's going to be super interesting. I highly recommend taking a look because, locked periods of time, the 30, the 60, 180 days, whatever it might be, some people look at that and they really do get worried. You guys are giving them an option whereby they can sell that on the secondary market if they need to.
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And not only will the option to sell or trade be peer to peer, but just like I said before, the treasury in the best interest of the protocol will always be a buyer.
Great. Now, what time is the pre-sale? Are there any minimums? Are there any maximums? And are you guys going to be doing anything special for the event on Friday?
Yeah, so I just want to preface right now, we actually have some events going on right now. So if you're interested, join our Discord, follow our Twitter, and check some stuff out if you want to win some free stables. We're doing some little events and giveaways and stuff. We plan to continue even more events, more competitions, more things all throughout the pre-sale, and then heading into launch. You can expect some pretty robust rewards for participating in the events that we have planned. For the pre-sale, definitely don't miss out because this will be one of the last times that you can get into the ecosystem early at a 10% discount and receive a full liquidity position back to you. So you won't need any extra capital. You won't need to sell any of the position or anything like that. You'll have liquidity ready to go, which you can use to do whatever you'd like to do. The minimum entry is $50, 50 USDC, pardon me, it's BUSD or USDT on Binance, BSC. There's no max, so you can enter in with however much you want, though there is the NFT per $1,000 pledged. The hard cap is going to be $500,000, so 500,000, and the soft cap will be 150,000. It'll last approximately 2 weeks or until hard cap is met. And that's it.
Great stuff, guys. Look, sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say I don't want people to the fact that one of the questions might be now, well, why no USDC? We had to make the decision on this contract sort of in the middle of this, and it has nothing to do with our belief in Circle or USDC. It was just timing, right, more than anything
Right.
else. So, yeah.
I mean, even if it was to do with, what's going on at the moment, it would just mean that you guys are paying close attention. Like you said at the very top of the Q&A, it is something that you guys are watching. You're cognizant of the current circumstances. And if you need to pivot in a direction away from a particular stable or not so stable as we should start saying at the moment, then so be it, because you're doing it for the betterment of your community, right?
Yep.
I've had a blast talking to you guys. I've really enjoyed it. You've taken on some tough questions and been able to answer all of them with ease. And I like the networking that you guys have going on. I like that you guys are very hot on working together with people. It's one of the things that, as you guys know, because we've spoken about it privately, is at the heart of what we're trying to do here at the hub with the pillars. We really are trying to create a place for people to feel free to come in and network and talk. And so, you guys are hopefully going to be around, and we'll see you've got a channel in here that people can talk about your particular protocol. And I hope you guys jump in at some point just to kind of, talk to the community members and answer any questions they might have as a follow-up to this.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think one of the things that's important to know that with the pillars, we're going to be engaged here for a long time, right? We have no intention of being a flash in the pan, And I guess there's two things I'd like to say real quick. Number one, thank you so much sincerely to everybody in the audience. It means so much to us as founders that to have the type of audience we have, and for you to stay around and listen, as Kripson mentioned, like it really, really means the world to us. I also want to mention this to you, Hatter. We have done so many AMAs, and this is not saying anything bad to anybody else, but by far and away, and I think the guys up here would agree with me, we've had the best questions in this AMA that I think we've had so far. So thank you for that.
That's very kind and very humbling. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
And on a last note, it's good to see that Chrome is currently organizing to get his first CLF tattoo. So I'll be watching with a keen eye to see that picture. But gentlemen, it's been a real pleasure. It has. I've loved talking to you guys, and I'm sure the audience have thoroughly enjoyed listening. They haven't gone anywhere other than a small dip somewhere in the middle because I think there was a technical issue, but they've listened to every word you've had to say. And we will be uploading this to YouTube. So if anybody didn't catch any part of this, there's going to be a secondary opportunity at some point over the coming week to listen to it. But thank you guys so much.
Awesome.
Thank you, man. Really appreciate it. And hopefully we'd love to come back sometime and do it again. So thank you so much, Hatter.
All right. Take care, guys.
Yeah, you too. Thanks
Bye-bye.
everybody in the
Take
audience.
care.
See ya.
Bye-bye.